I think this will normalize. It may take a while to normalize, but in the first 2 weeks, how crazy has NIL been at Oklahoma State?
Well, I mean, I think you're right. It will normalize. Remember, Robert, when we introduced cost of attendance across the country, that was going to be the end of the world, and it never comes up anymore. This is obviously more high profile, it's more public facing. We had I haven't followed lately, but except we've been out here for a couple of days, but we had 10 or 12 athletes with deals almost immediately. And again, I haven't followed up lately. The hard part, and I think an issue that's sort of popping up everywhere from the people I've talked to today is use of the OSU brand, um,
Colors,
color,
logos,
yeah,
or slogans.
game action, uniform, all that stuff, and it's really probably something we will not completely get our hands around. I don't think until everyone's back on campus. We actually have Jim Cavale. I think you maybe spoke. Did you ever get a chance to talk to
Tomorrow,
him?
I'm
Yeah.
going to get a chance to speak to him
Yeah, so
tomorrow.
he should be in Stillwater about now. I think his first session on our, I set up his itinerary, but I don't remember. I think at 1 o'clock today he was starting off with our creatives, and it was going to go till about 2:30. And he had a session with our senior staff and administration, and then 4 to 6 with the student athletes because they've all have their own angle. They all have their own issues, and but I think you're right. I keep saying to everyone, it would be really nice to see where we're at this time next year with NIL, and because I don't think it's going to be traumatic, but it's definitely the biggest change maybe ever in athletics.
This is kind of what I thought. Do you think, obviously, the Olympic movement went through this when Olympic athletes started to be able to be sponsored, and you had companies coming in and supporting, you know, Olympic movements within countries. Um, do you see this becoming more of an Olympic model, or is it more extensive than that?
I think it will be more extensive. There are a lot of people who have their own version. There are a lot of people who want to make an imprint on it. Um, it it's it's just it's convoluted in the sense that everybody has their own take on it. We've seen the extremes, like what's happened at Miami. I think it's okay to talk about that. And then we've seen the other extreme where people are getting deals where maybe they just get to eat a couple of meals a week, which will probably affect more people than not. But it's going to affect the really good headline star athletes, but it's also going to be great for people who are good at social media. And those can be mutually exclusive, and it can be dictated by a lot of different things on who cashes in on what. And I think every school is positioning it like this is the place to be for NIL. We're all over it, you know. But uh, we keep hearing that we're ahead of the game, and I'm like, us? You know, I've been in every one of those meetings. I don't feel like we are. We feel like we're hanging on for dear life, but it's just going to be a really It is a bumpy start. I think people who say it's going smoothly, they're not really being honest. It is because everything's new. Everything you're going through is the first time. It's like, okay, we need to change this policy, need to adapt that policy. We need to see what this school is doing. But I agree with you. This time next year, I think the rough edges will be smoothed out. I'm hoping.
Yeah, and again, the really the only concern, I don't have a problem with athletes making money
No,
off
because
their name.
most of them, it's a very small window that they can do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The problem I have is somebody taking a big chunk of money and changing the competitive um, advantage or disadvantage for a particular school. And that's why I asked Bowlesby the other day, Bob Bowlesby, about that Miami situation. That's something you look. That's not name, image, and likeness. That's somebody trying to move the needle by paying everybody in the program.
Well, and the other thing to that, the second part of that was in a follow up story I saw where he was going to raise money or have businesses try to get people to donate to a fund who would help underwrite the businesses who would pay athletes. Um, yeah, it gets really crazy. But I also saw where he did not commit to doing this beyond year one.
Yeah.
So we'll see how many people go out of business in the name of NIL. Um, it's you can read about it and talk about it 24/7. And now I'm glad we're finally in it because I'm tired of it hanging over our heads, and I'm glad we've started the process.
Yeah. And again, who appointed you the point man on that?
Well, I
Or did
I
you volunteer?
I think I just started because so much of it early on, the perception was going to be that it was social media, and those groups, the digital groups, all come up through my chain of command. And I think I
Right.
started on it on my own, but obviously Kevin Fight, senior associate for compliance, and Brandon Meyer, senior associate for in our legal counsel. We all have big, huge chunks that really fall into our jurisdiction. So we're really a three-headed monster.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
and the further we get into it, the more it will be those two guys than me if I do it right.
All right, Kevin Klintworth, and again,